Hey friends, welcome to Lucy Smiles Living Room podcast. I am so excited to sit down in the living room today with Carol Kirkwood, who is near and dear to my heart, and the work that she has done in Mexico, in Mazatlán, for the animals as part of her amazing mission. Carol Kirkwood was in corporate Canada and left in 2010 to set her sights on retirement in Mexico with her husband, Bill. And since then, she had eventually, after settling in Mazatlán, had started to seek more purpose in her life. And at that point, she decided to start volunteering with the animals, the dogs and cats here in Mazatlán. And after meeting a beautiful soul, Lupita, she had learned that she had been having so much overwhelm in regards to the dogs and cats that were on the rural streets of her rural area here in Mazatlán. And it was then that Carol and her husband, Bill, decided to found Mazatlán Animal Rescue, MAR. And you could find so much about them on social media. We'll go into that a little bit as well. And through the Mazatlán Animal Rescue, Carol and her husband, Bill, has now since been able to house 300 dogs at the current state as we are here in June of 2025, as well as 120 cats. And she has turned this amazing sanctuary, which is now called Hope Sanctuary, into something that was a small foster based on now a group of a full-scale rescue center that is fully furnished now by the Mazatlán Animal Rescue and by those in our community that have offered their help, offered their support, and offered their time, their energy, and their beautiful hearts to support this mission that Carol and her husband Bill have been on in the last decade that it was founded back in 2013. I have been a part of the Mazatlán Animal Rescue as well. I had the opportunity to go into Hope Sanctuary to visit these hundreds of dogs, hundreds of cats, to see how they have been loved and cared for and supported over the last while, and also working with people like you who are animal lovers, whether you're in Mazatlán, in Mexico, or in the United States, in Canada. Carol is going to talk about how she has been able to transport so many animals, rehoming so many of these animals in this non-kill shelter that also has an opportunity to work with local vets and work with local people who want to really make a difference in the world. So if you are an animal lover like me, I would love for you to take some time to sit and listen to Carol's conversation with me. Share this beautiful, beautiful opportunity with other people. Maybe you know someone in Canada or in the United States that wants to rehome a beautiful adopted animal. Just like my two kids are actually from high kill shelters in Kentucky. I was able to rescue Luca and Angel almost 10 years ago as well. And I know the magic that happens whenever you bring these beautiful four-leggeds into your home. So I hope you enjoy this episode. I hope you fall in love with Carol, her work, her mission. And I just pray that you can share this mission far and wide. You never know how it could be of help. I hope you enjoy the show. Hey friends, and welcome to Lucy Smiles Living Room podcast. I'm your host, Diane, aka Lucy Smiles, and I am so grateful to be sitting in the living room with the amazing Carol Kirkwood, fellow Canadian living in Mazatlán. And Carol is such a huge, impactful contributor in our city of Mazatlán and also North America for the work that she does around animal rescue with her founded company, Mazatlán Animal Rescue, which is a nonprofit her and her husband, Bill, had founded back in 2013. I would love to really just give an opportunity for Carol today to speak about the journey that she has been on, why this was so near and dear to her heart. And I'm also really excited to share how Carol and I met one fine dark evening in Navajo, Mexico, and how I was able to then learn about the work that Carol and Bill and their team have been doing over the last decade around helping dogs and cats locally to Mazatlán, Mexico, but also then being able to support families in North America, transporting these animals and getting them adopted and fostered throughout North America. So welcome to the show, Carol.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to have you here. So Carol, I shared with the audience through your bio and through the show notes who you are and what you've done, but I would love for you to take us back to the beginning of how you came through following your heart, really what it was, and following your purpose from being a Canadian, and then what brought you down to Mexico in the first place with your husband, Bill?
We were determined to retire outside of Canada, not particularly looking for a zone to live in where we were surrounded by other Canadians or Americans. We wanted to live in the culture of the country we were looking for. And we made a couple of trips down into Mexico with the thought that we would probably retire in Mexico somewhere, but we didn't know where. So we went through with an RV several times over a few years, back and forth to Canada. And we settled on Mazatlán because it just was so perfect for us. And that's how we came to be here. And we spent the first few years only in the winter, the 6 months of the winter, and living in the RV on Stone Island, which is where I noticed the huge animal problem.
Yeah. And so Stone Island being just out like a little peninsula right by Mazatlán. And so that is interesting because I'd been there as well too. And I think what happens is a lot of times if people are just in like the metropolis of Mazatlán or even other Mexican cities, they don't realize the travesty of what's happening until you hit, a few streets inland or on Stone Island.
Right.
And so it's actually heartbreaking when you see these beautiful four-leggeds with just like randomly just roaming the streets. And so
right. And it's not something that I could stand by and watch. I didn't have a lot of experience with animals or animal rescue prior to coming to Mexico.
Wow.
But I was a very busy person when we were in Canada, and I had a lot going on. We were running a couple of businesses.
That's Luca in the background, by the way. He just wants to make sure that everyone knows he's running he's background. He's my production. Luca, come. We have to keep it real here in the studio with all the animals.
Exactly. It's Animal Day.
It's Animal Day.
And so we, I was not going to lie on the beach and read books. So I started to look at what I could do to help. And there was a shelter, a small animal shelter on the mainland part of Mazatlán. So I went there and asked them if they could use some help. And I spent 3 or 4 winters there, helping and learning a lot. And then I decided that we needed to do more. And so Bill, my husband, suggested, let's start our own.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm certain he's regretting that today.
So I'm sure it's a love-hate.
Yeah. And so we did. And we joined with a few other people who were independently doing rescue in Mazatlán, just trapping cats and getting them fixed and that kind of thing. So we joined with some of those people. And then we got a call from the woman who owns the property where our sanctuary sits.
Well, okay.
And that was 12 years ago.
Wow.
And she said, I'm in trouble. Can you help?
Oh.
And we went and met her. And the main thing was at that time, she only had dogs and she had about 70 dogs. And she was getting into trouble with getting the funds together to give vet care and even to feed them. And she was using her own money. So we started serious then at that point fundraising because we had to find the money to support 70 animals.
Because there's nothing else you could do. They're there and they're alive and they need help and they're not going to, they're hopeless and helpless.
There you are.
Oh my gosh.
And she had them on her property. She had actually constructed a few pens. It was pretty decent what she'd done all by herself.
Wow.
So when we became involved, and then we got a few other volunteers involved, and suddenly we went from a small little foster base, 10 animals in homes around Mazatlán to 70 animals. And oh, by the way, can you take some cats?
Oh my God, while you're at it.
Okay, yeah. So there was a situation in one of the areas of Mazatlán where they were poisoning the cats. And they were feral cats, and they just are looking for food. They're not hurting anything. So we went and trapped them. It was our first cat trapping project.
Yeah.
And Lupita agreed to take them at the sanctuary. And that was our first introduction to cats. And it was really incredible that she agreed to do that because there was 28 cats.
Wow.
So she went from 0 cats to 28 cats and had a little space that she thought she could devote to it. So then now we have to raise money for cats.
Wow.
So
Yeah. And fast, because it's not like you have a few weeks to strategize on. You have these animals need food, they need care. I'm sure they're not all super healthy when they came in.
Oh no, they all needed to be neutered or spayed. A few had
parasite,
been done.
feline leukemia testing to make sure that. I didn't realize this as well too. I'll share too, because I had my first cat trapping extravaganza 2 weeks ago, and with the help of some of your volunteers, I was able to make some quick phone calls. We have this family of a one-eyed mom, 3 kids, 2 are feral, and then we were able to trap the dad. And then as we were, I have to share this with the audience. You don't realize how many cats are in the neighborhood. So as we were trying to trap 2 of the kittens of the mom, we knew what they were. There's a black and white, a gray and a white, like a calico, and then the mom, who I called Lady Marmalade because she's like a dark calico. As we were trying to trap the last of the kitten, I think it was 2 or 3 tries later, it was a random cat that went into the cage instead of the one we were looking. It was always a different one. My friend Victoria would say, I trapped it, but it's not the one we're looking for. It's another one, and it's another. And I thought, where are all these cats coming from? So it is a challenge. It's a problem. Yeah. And they all need love and care and support and health.
Yeah. Well, the only solution to the feral cat issue in the world, because it is in the world, is to spay and neuter, just like with the street dogs. And, so the people like you who go out and actually do some trapping and do the spay neuter are rare.
Yeah. And it wasn't me, it was so I've got my landlord and my beautiful friend Jordana, who has 6 of her own, and she still has like her own street children as well. Cause 6 is a lot in the house. And she's the one, I think someone just randomly called her because we're all a very nice community here. And we know the ones that have the biggest hearts, and not to say that we utilize, but it's true, is that we know the ones that will take charge, and Jordana being one of them. And then through us, just being a support system for that. But yeah, it's a select few people that are doing it because it's scary. We don't know what to do. And so I really want to make sure we talk into like how you're educating people around that. It doesn't have to be scary. It just has to be education.
Yes. Yeah. Well, the problem, the issue, the challenge with cats is you need the traps, and traps are not available at every pet store.
No.
So you have to have a special order. You have to really go outside of your normal activities to find traps.
Yeah.
And then once you have traps, they're like gold.
Yeah.
And you
have to make sure they work.
That they work, but that they don't get taken away.
Yeah. That was
because if you aren't there monitoring the traps, someone will come along and scoop it up because it's made of metal, and there's a big metal recycling thing here as a source of income. So
wow.
So yeah, you not only can put the traps out, walk away, and say, "Okay, cats, come on."
Yeah, I'll check on you tomorrow. It's
or
not
come back in an hour or something.
Yeah.
Your traps could be gone. So that's part of the job of trapping cats. But and then once they go out back into the community and they're fixed, the feral cats do not live very long in the wild. It's the same with the street dogs because they're not getting all the bedding and the healthy food and medicines and
it's dangerous on the streets.
Yeah, and there's predators and stuff. So they don't live very long. But I tell you, if you do the trapping in that community, you did, within a couple of years, there'll be no cats.
Yeah,
and that's the only solution to too many cats.
I think that's the most important thing, because I would have to say, and it's not saying the word ignorant in a negative way, but people just don't understand. I think in my conversations with many people, they say, "Oh yeah, we need to help adopt." And then as I had conversations with you and conversations with those that I've been, part of this village that has been created just here alone, is the importance of, no, we need to go right from the starting to not have them be populating.
Right.
The adoption is the reactive part of it, but the spay and neuter programs and those clinics that are happening that we're doing our best to support you in your mission is really literally controlling the pet population. And it sounds, but it's the legitimate truth.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you what happened yesterday, ironically enough, is we just had a message on a text message that in the area that we've, like, so Jordana has like worked with the cat vet, working with like getting the blood work done and the spay and neutering done, and it's costly. Is we just got a text message yesterday that they found 3 more kittens. So we're like, oh, just when we thought we got somewhere, it's perpetuate. It's like you can't catch up. And you had mentioned this to me. I want to talk about the fundraising that you do, so small scale. We need so much more help than that. Is that you had shared about that too? Is that you're just trying to keep up with all of the bills and all of the, like, you're never really far ahead enough to breathe.
Oh no. It's I always equate it to when I was going to school and trying to get through university and paying my way and working and everything. It's like living from one paycheck or 1 week to the next.
Yeah.
And if you do have enough at the end of a period to actually pay a vet bill or something, you rush there with the money before you spend it on something else. So yeah, you're never ahead, that's for sure. We have some really great support in a few people who, and most people here are retired, and some of them had very fruitful careers and are lovely enough to give us some of the money that they work so hard in their careers and are sharing it.
Yeah.
So we have a few basic good level donations coming in, but all the rest of it is local functions, events to try and raise
a little bit here and a little bit there.
$1,500 maybe. Yeah. If we could make that in one event, that's a good deal.
Yeah.
If we could make a couple of $100 by a local bar and restaurant saying, come and have a drink, and we're going to give some of your drink money to the animals.
Yeah.
And so we just take every opportunity we can to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we have 2 restaurants in Mazatlán that support us all the time on a regular basis. Fish, just down the street from
love
me
it
here.
there. It's wonderful.
Sarah is a fantastic support for us, and will hold events for us whenever we want, whenever we can pull it together and get organized and get raffle prizes and all of that kind of thing, and do 50-50 draws. And so she makes her restaurant available to us.
Yeah.
And Water's Edge downtown.
Yes.
They do the same thing. So we have a few pretty strong supporters, very strong support. But if we had more, we could do more. And that's what I always say. We have this piece of property out there. It's huge. If I had more income or more donations coming, we could build more space.
Yeah.
We could have more animals. The cat house right now is crowded.
Wow.
We could love to extend it and put some more space for them. And that we only got that. The cat, we call it the cat mansion, not the cat house.
And the Bark Park, which I've been.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. It came as a result of one woman giving one $5,000 donation.
Wow.
That allowed us to build the foundation of the cat mansion.
Wow.
And then little dribs and drabs let's put this on, let's put that on.
But you can't count on all of those things, because I know, like, my tiny little things that I'm creating, the fashion for fur babies, which I was able to, collect a few $100s, or like the bracelets that I had. Bunny Shapiro, if you go on my website, I'll put it in the show notes. Bunny Shapiro had created these beautiful bracelets where all of the proceeds outside of me paying wholesale would go right to you. But it's, I believe that we need to even get more lofty when it comes to these opportunities for you. I would like for you, Carol, without getting, because I can't even handle the stories, but I would like for you to share some of the realities of things that you've seen so people can understand that it's not just like one dog off the street, one cat off the street, a little litter of kittens, which is all devastating. But I know that you've seen some pretty significant volume of, and again, without getting too crazy into the story, because I don't feel like crying, you've seen some significant hoarding houses and like the Chihuahuas of last year. Can you share some of those things? And this is why a night out at Water's Edge or a fish fundraiser is not going to support those types of surprises that you get on a random Tuesday when then it wasn't part of your sphere the night before. That's scary.
Yeah, sure. Well, that story, the Chihuahuas, house full of Chihuahuas. When I say a house full, there were 83 Chihuahuas
Oh my gosh.
living in this house. It was mind blowing for me, and I've seen a lot now. Started actually a couple of months before that, because we went into the local health board, let's call it, called us and asked us to help with a house in Centro that had a huge number of dogs in it. They didn't know how many, but they had the police would be there to open the house. And we put a team together with, believe me, masks, at least the COVID masks, and gloves and everything. And the smell from that home was affecting the neighbors.
Oh my gosh.
And had been for a long time. So the neighbors finally convinced the authorities to go in, and they asked us to help and take the dogs. And we went in there, and there were 27 smallish, all pretty small, all under 15 pounds, I guess, and take them out. And we had our van, and it was loaded with crates, and we were prepared, but we weren't really prepared because it was awful. The fact that they were living in those conditions. And, most people who hoard animals, they're trying to do a good thing. They're trying to take them off the street, but they don't know how to go beyond taking them off the street and feeding them. And so then the whole thing mushrooms and it takes off on them. So we had a vet team set up at the sanctuary. We drove these little things out there, and it was just a nightmare how terribly filthy they were. And there was many with they were non-shedding, so they had the dreadlocks, and they were white dogs, but you couldn't tell they were white. They were brown, and you know what they were brown from. Right? So then we just gotten over that and managed all of that and found places for them and started them in through the process of getting them healthy enough to adopt. And a call comes in about the 83 Chihuahuas.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding me.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
So I know my team was quite upset with me for saying yes, because we were at capacity already. We'd added 27. And we didn't have the space for the 27. We just start squishing our other dogs into smaller, into a space. They have less space. So it's not really fair to them. But we do rescue. So when animals are in trouble, we have to find a way.
You can't leave them.
No.
We
couldn't leave those animals, and nobody else in this vicinity who have rescued or maybe have a small facility can handle those kinds of numbers.
Right.
We're the only ones who can.
Because you also know what you're doing.
We know what we're doing, but we can make it space.
Work. Right.
Even if it's temporary.
Yeah.
So we take these Chihuahuas, and they basically go in, 83 of them. We had to do 2 trips in the van. And we put most of them in one area where we'd had large dogs. Well, it was like a symphony of chihuahuas. You've never heard the noise like that. Every single one of them was barking at the same time.
Oh my gosh.
And
oh, wow.
then the community, within a couple of weeks, the community started to hear.
Yeah.
And I had people interested
Yeah.
locally to adopt. And we'd let them come and see the healthy ones. And so a few of them, let's say 20, went out through the local community. And then one of our dear friends, Sophia, got on we need people like her. She just burned up the phone wires, and she called up into New Mexico and convinced the Chihuahua Rescue there to take 40.
Oh my God. I love her.
And she's great.
She's amazing. She created the Bark Park, didn't she, with her husband Socrates, or they helped
design
it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And then we had another woman who financed it, which was just incredible. This huge one-time donation just to get that area built was, But these things, they come out of nowhere. You know?
Well, the donations come out of nowhere, and then the 80 dogs in hoarding houses.
Yeah.
So how do you balance it is the what I feel like is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Right. And so going back to the
monthly donors,
sure,
are a balance, but it's we have a nice, let's say, base of monthly donors. They cover about 1 week of our average 4.
Right.
So all the rest of the weeks have to come out of donations made by answering appeals on our Facebook page.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And sometimes something in a Facebook message or some kind of a social message makes a hit, and we get $1,000.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? We don't even know who this person is.
It's amazing. Yeah.
And they don't tell you anything. They just say,
Good.
We love the work you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell your friends. So I want to go back to the 40 Chihuahuas for New Mexico Chihuahua Rescue, because I also want to then kind of share with the audience the magic of like and we'll go back how I met you, because you were coming back from a transport with numerous dogs going up to Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And then also people travel with them to Canada via. So
the Flight Angels. So
the Flight Angels. Okay. So share us about some of the stories of how, if people don't want to donate monthly, which I recommend, any small donation multiplied by 100 people is not a small donation. So I definitely want to talk about that. But also, so we've got Flight Angels, we've got people in Vancouver, in Toronto, in New York, in Seattle that are actually rescuing and adopting these beautiful animals from you.
Yeah.
And you get to have those stories. I mean, I'm a testament of rescuing, right?
Yes. Yeah. The whole rescue dog thing. There is a stigma, sort of still. It's much better now, but it used to be, well, you don't take a rescue dog because you're taking someone else's problems. Well,
wow.
You know what? Usually the dog is not the problem. The person who abandoned the dog, or cat, or who turned it in at a shelter or something, they're the problem. And the dog and cat are rarely the problems. And we know that because they come to us, and the dog is wonderful.
Yeah.
And so you're not rescuing or adopting someone else's problems. The other thing about rescue, rescue is sort of now grown up to be a lot more trendy. So having a rescue dog has very, very small negative connotations like it used to have. Oh, look at you. What breed is that?
Yeah.
We go, it's rescue.
Yeah.
But and so the world has kind of grown up about rescue. And I think that a lot of that's contributed to social media.
Totally. Yeah.
Because without social media, we wouldn't have the partnerships we have. So we have partnerships with other rescues in Canada, Texas, Arizona, And in Canada, mostly on the west side of the country,
Right.
because it's hard to get from here to the east side of the country. On the west side of North America, we have direct flights.
Right.
So to take an animal and stop overnight in Mexico City and then fly up is not really very good.
Yeah.
Because it's an animal they don't know. So these people volunteer their time. We pay all the expenses for the animal and we add them onto their flight and they fly. And then the rescue group at the other end picks them up.
It's amazing.
And or a person who adopted picks them up. It depends what it is. More than anything, I would rather send our animals to a rescue group because I know them.
Right.
And they can then do the house check
and the vetting and all of that kind of stuff.
And make sure everything's cool. If I just send to an adopter, basically it has to be an adopter that comes from a reference, someone we know, or has adopted from us before.
Right.
So so that's the flight angel thing. So the person who accompanies the dog on the plane, either in the cabin, the small guys, or in the hold, what they have to do is check them through customs and then deliver them to the person who's accepting them.
Yeah.
We have never once had a no-show at the airport.
Oh, thank goodness.
And that's what people are the most concerned about as flight angels. Well, is someone going to be there at the other end to pick them up?
Exactly. Because what are you going to do?
Yeah,
you're in a bind.
Can't take that dog home.
Yeah.
And don't worry.
Yeah.
They'll be there.
Yeah.
So then, we had all kinds of adventures where the person picking them up got a flat tire or blah, 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 but it all worked out.
Yeah.
So it was fine. And with the partner rescues, like the Chihuahua rescue in New Mexico, she had about a month's time to find the spaces at her rescue for them. So either through her existing foster homes, and she worked with other rescues as well. So they didn't all just go to her; she moved them out. So everybody's got a network, and we have this great partner rescue in Texas and in north of Dallas. And when we send dogs to her, which we have several times now, and we'll say, we sent a load of dogs, 25 dogs went in the van to Texas, to Lost Paws of Texas. And people come back and actually say, well, but Texas is a high kill state. And why are you sending dogs there? They have lots of dogs. And they're killing dogs in their shelters all the time, which is sort of true. But the difference is the woman at that rescue is networked with us.
Right.
And she doesn't see a border. And neither do we.
Yeah.
And so if she likes and believes she can find a home for 25 of our dogs versus 25 of the dogs in the shelter in Houston, then who am I to question her? And I'm not going to, because without those outlets,
exactly. Yeah.
If they don't leave our sanctuary, I can't take more in.
Exactly. And people, I think that's the most important thing in the message that I want to get across here, is that people don't really understand what goes on behind the scenes. And I had an opportunity. So Carol and I met in the dark of the night on my last leg moving from, on my road trip. I took an 8-day road trip with my husband and my 2 rescues. And it was so ironic because I had said to my husband before I met you on the way, one of the things that I really want to do is I want to be a part of the animal rescue. I'm going to find the animal rescue agency in Mazatlán. There has to be one. And then literally on our last stop, we decided to stay in Navajoa, our last overnight before we hit Mexico 3 years ago. And I'm walking through the parking lot for the last walk for the kids, and I run into you. And we end up having a conversation. Then I find out Carol is literally running the Mazatlán Animal Rescue. So, I mean, I really believe that when you have this in your attention, your dominant thoughts. And so my message to everyone is like, where can you share this message? Who do you know that maybe even wants to adopt this, maybe in Canada or the US? Are you coming to Mazatlán? Are you already here and looking for a way to be of purpose? Do you want to be part of the fundraising? I could share the work that I've been doing on a small scale, but really I would love to create a larger scale for you and for your team. And because we know that, those hoarding houses, that's not going to be the last of you finding 25, 80, 120. And because you've got the cats as well too. And I'm seeing the cat challenge on the street right now too. I think it's an important conversation. The other thing I wanted to share, as I was 2 years ago, I was working, I went somewhere and I met one of the women also named Diane, and she was creating these amazing ornaments for Christmas. Mm-hmm. And she said to me that she was creating these to put money towards, and I was like, wow, I forgot about this challenge. The fact that during the rain season in Mazatlán, in the hurricane season, there's flooding. And I don't even want to know the story about what happens during these times of these poor dogs during these hurricanes, thunderstorms, massive rain showers. So she had said that she was raising money with her little ornaments. What I remember doing a workshop with her to raise the shelters for the dogs. Right. So how did that end up going? And what else do you need now that we may not understand to put in place?
There's never ending need of better facility. Mm-hmm. The wire of the fences disintegrate, and you have to be putting up new wire or mm-hmm. fixing holes and things all the time. Those little things keep one guy busy every week.
Wow.
And so we're just completing 2 new areas, we call them, because they're not cages. They're larger. Mm-hmm. And you can put 4 or 5 dogs in one area usually. And as the rain comes, we start to notice our roofing is not going to hold up to a strong rain or mm-hmm. wind. Mm-hmm. So now we have to try and find resources for that.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I can't take away from the dog food, cat, sand litter, mm-hmm. the vet medicines to pay for new roofing.
Yeah.
So we kind of either move the dogs if the rain is too strong, or it's going to be a hurricane or a level storm. We have to find ways to keep them all safe. And it's a challenge because we're full.
Yeah.
So how do you take 8 dogs out of an area and move them into another area when there's already 8 dogs there? Mm-hmm. And the other thing you have to remember is dogs are like people. They don't like each other all the time.
That's true. And that's another thing too. Like you're a psychologist.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
At the sanctuary, I've seen you in full therapy sessions
mm-hmm.
with these animals, and mm-hmm. they don't speak. So you can't really tell them what's not good and what's good. No. And they can't share with you what's upsetting them or creating anxiety, because these animals, of course they have anxiety. Of course they're in fight, flight, freeze. Of course they've got some aggression issues because they are fighting for their lives. They don't know what the next step is going to be. And then here we come in with big hearts, but it doesn't matter.
No.
So it's unbelievable.
No, it's, well, it does take toughening up. Mm-hmm. You can't go out there once and be okay.
Yeah.
And know what's going on. Unless you've maybe worked in an animal shelter for a long time, but it took each and every one of us a long time to get used to that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, these dogs have lived together for some of the dogs have been there multi-years.
Yeah.
We have many who have been there over 3 years.
Wow.
And they're fine until the day they're not. And then all of a sudden they're fighting, and you have to take that one of them out and move it somewhere else because they're done with each other.
Yeah.
Or the pack mentality will set in, and 2 of them will have a problem. And once the fight starts, they all get involved. Mm-hmm. So we got a pack fight. Well, there's nothing more frightening than that, especially to new volunteers. We have a protocol, and it's grab a tail. Everyone goes in and grabs a tail.
Yeah.
And you just pull and you don't let go of the tail until you got them away from each other.
Right. Yeah.
But the
It's
best
easier said than done, Carol.
Exactly. Exactly.
But it is very frightening,
Yeah.
I have to say. So
Yeah.
it takes a tough cookie like you. And I've met your team. I've frequented the place short term, and for me, I realized it does take tough people like you. Like it's
yeah.
very inspiring, but we also need people to show up so that these situations can get handled, and it's not easy. It takes big hurt.
It's hard at first.
Yeah.
You get better at it
Yeah.
for sure. But we have some of the people out at the sanctuary we have to pay. Not everybody's a volunteer because we need people who are definitely going to show up and do the cleaning and the feeding and volunteers are volunteers. They
can come and go. They could not show up. They could get busy. They want to go. It absolutely. You have to have
traveling, and they're retired volunteers, so they have other lives. So we have a really good base of volunteers who work together and make sure that most of the jobs that the volunteers do are covered, even if someone is going away or not feeling well or having a surgery or whatever is going on in other people's lives. So they're really good at that. Could we use 6 more, the same type of person? Yes, always. But that type of person is hard to find.
Yeah.
Because it sounds good because you've always had dogs all your lives, or I have 5 cats, and that's different.
Yeah.
And they're not
different environment.
Yeah, and they're not yours, and they're not all socialized. Some are new to the sanctuary. Some need special handling. And so when someone comes and they're new, we say, okay, stick with them. Don't go off on your own.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Because you're not only handling the animals, you're handling the humans. You're doing everything.
Yeah.
So Carol, I would love to hear if you could think of one story that just melted your heart, maybe the before and better story of an animal that came in that maybe you just didn't know that it was going to be rescued, and or this, because you must get these pictures of the animal 8 years later. Or is there a story that comes to mind that just reminds you on the days that you're like, how am I going to keep on doing what I'm doing? Because this is not an easy feat that you have said yes to for 12 years. So is there any story that you could think about?
Well, okay, generally the adoptions.
Yeah.
They're the pay. Because if they're not leaving, there's no pay.
Yeah.
And it's hard to continue doing work like that without pay. It's like being a nurse, a volunteer nurse or a volunteer doctor or something. At some point you run out of steam. There's got to be some kind of payback. And with volunteer medical people everywhere, the payback is they get better. They get to leave.
Yeah.
I firmly believe, this sounds kind of kooky, I think, that the dogs know I'm the one who decides they leave.
Oh, wow.
Because they come up and talk to me.
Oh.
Don't forget I'm here.
No.
I went on the next one to Texas.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Seriously.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. There's a
I believe that wholeheartedly.
Yeah. A brother and sister that the brother went to Texas on the last shipment. And now she's talking to me. Okay, he's gone. You got to let me go.
Oh.
But those kinds of things. But here's the story that just happened. So we had a couple here, American couple here, who have been very strong supporters. They donate every month and they adopt from us, and they have dogs and cats. But quite a few years ago, they adopted a little Chihuahua from us. And he told me yesterday that they just had to let her go because she had kidney failure. And he was, through the years, we've heard all the stories about Rosita and everything. And so Rosita has crossed the bridge. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. please know that you gave her the best life.
Mm-hmm.
And without you guys, where would she be? At
Yeah.
the sanctuary with 300 dogs. So be proud of yourselves for the life you gave her.
Yeah.
Within an hour, he comes back to me and says, you know, it's quiet around here.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Do you have another little old one that might need some help?
Wow.
And he says, I'm looking on your website and I see these ones, but I don't know. We were hoping there was one that, you know, almost like hospice care.
Wow.
And I said, you know what? Yes, we do. He's not on the website because we assumed nobody would want her.
Right.
And she's basically living out her life. She's got a heart condition, needs medicine every day. He says, send me the photos, send me some video. So I go out there yesterday and send him the thing. And within 20 minutes, he says, bring her over.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding.
No.
What was her name?
Her name's Venus.
Oh.
And I'm going to get her after
No way.
this year and take her to their house. So, and like our manager out there, she says, well, she just kind of lays in the bedroom in a corner. And I said, well, can she lay in their bedroom in the corner?
Wow.
Because it's a quiet home. They have one other dog that they got from us, another Chihuahua. And I said, sounds like a perfect place for her.
Wow.
And
that is amazing.
Yeah.
Because that is like a whole other opportunity for people, actually. If you wanted to be like end of life love.
Yeah. Hospice care. Yeah.
You know, it's like we're not asking you to take 10 years out of your life.
No.
But maybe a few months. Do you like that's a whole thing in itself, is being able to offer this beautiful soul a resting transformation over the Rainbow Bridge.
And that's,
wow.
But that takes a lot of strength.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, of course.
And the other thing is often those animals in that condition cannot travel. So it has to be
the right condition,
people,
of course. Absolutely.
But a lot of people come down here for 6 months and look for things to do.
Exactly.
And they don't have
purpose,
their dog or their cat with them, or they, you know, they're traveling and they don't want an animal, but they could have an animal for a few months. And we have lots of chances for that.
Yeah. I think I saw yesterday the two dogs that have lived together for a while. They're a black and a white one.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was looking at them yesterday and like, Diane, don't right now is not the best time. I can't remember their names. They've lived together for a while. I saw a post a couple days ago or a day ago, but I just think like, oh, you know, it's so rewarding. If you have because here's the other thing that I share with people. This is not a luxury. These are not accessories. These are not, you know, unfortunately during the COVID years, it was like kind of a phenomenon and then people got rid of them. This is an important conversation for the point of, like, I think about mine are 11. I got Luca whenever he was 10 months, Angel when she was 2. She came 9 months after Luca. I was looking for a daughter, and lo and behold, here she came 9 months later. But it's 10 years of my life, hopefully 20. And so we really need people to understand that if you have this idea of, hey, it'd be really great to adopt, that this is a child, this is a dependent, this is a decade plus of responsibility that you know, if you're not in the position to do it, let it be somebody else. And I think that's the other most important thing.
Well, our evaluation on adoptions is if the home is not better than where they are, they're not going.
Yeah, perfect.
So we have to be pretty careful with where they're going. And, you know, the sanctuary is a crowded place. 300, probably a few more now, dogs and puppies and a huge number of cats living all together. And some people actually find it depressing, and I do not, of course, because I wouldn't go there. But depressing is where they were.
Right.
That's depressing.
That's amazing.
To be wandering the street, looking for food, feeling sick, having nobody even look sideways at them. It's pretty depressing. So then they get to come there and they have food every day and
community
care, and they
don't know the difference of, oh, this house is as nice as that. Like, I think that's what we do. So we put our stigmas and our
we do.
opinions and judgments on, but it's like they're in pack now. They're being fed, they're being loved. They're not comparing it to anything else other than the streets. So it isn't as depressing.
Mostly the streets. Yeah. Sometimes they've had a home and
Sure.
Well, do you call a hoarding house a home? No.
Yeah.
So if they come out of there and they come and they have fresh water and a clean air.
Yeah.
And are given baths and haircuts and things, they're going to be
pretty happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
And what right now, that hoarding house situation with the 27, there's one left.
Wow.
And he's at our house in Foster. And he was the first one to come out of the house. And he was the worst condition. He had horrible dreadlocks and just hadn't had a haircut for years, I guess.
Yeah.
And so we cleaned him up, and he's still not socialized enough to be adopted.
Yeah.
Every day, one tiny little step he makes to.
How old is he? Do you know?
Oh, maybe 3.
Oh, he's young. Yeah.
And so that's the reward.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's so much work that you do, and there's so many opportunities for people like myself, people like this audience, our community, whether it's here in Mazatlán, the United States, Canada. We take donations from all over the world. So Carol, in closing, I love to ask my guests a question. If I could, take my magic wand, or you could take your magic wand, and there was, a vision that you could see for all that you have created over the last 12 years. I know we've talked a lot about the different things that you need and the different opportunities, but if you could just visualize, like, what would make your heart sing if, say, in 5 years, something changed at the sanctuary, at the Hope Sanctuary through Mazatlán Animal Rescue? Is there anything like a vision that you can just we can cast in our mind's eye for you that would make you just feel like you could breathe a little bit more and maybe sleep a couple more minutes at night? Because I know this has been stressful for you, but you just keep on going.
Yeah. I think the main thing would be there weren't so many coming in.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we every day someone comes either to the gate or through the social media. Can you take this dog? Look at, they'll dump a box full of cats. Or a bag. They actually throw cats in a bag and leave them in the bag rolling around outside the gate. And if we could just get it down to one animal a month coming to come in, that would be amazing. Because then maybe the ones coming in wouldn't outnumber the ones leaving.
You'd have a little bit more control over everything. So
because it never goes down, it just keeps going up.
And I remember even a couple of weeks ago being at Fish at the fundraiser, like just supporting and speaking with you finally, and really having that conversation. As you said, you can't keep up, and that's the challenge. I think that doesn't allow you to really, you're always in fight, flight, freeze, trying to figure it out, and then never knowing the next day if something, because as you'd said, like driving up to the gates of the sanctuary, there could be dogs tied up ready for you to, it's never ending.
Yeah, quite often.
Yeah. So Carol, how can we find you? Social media. I mean, I think you even just email you directly for any hope, any way that someone can say, what can I do? I live here, so I can't volunteer, but what can I do? How do I help? Where do I send funds? How can I support? Where can we find you?
Well, the website has a donate page and button, and it goes through PayPal because being international, Mexico, US, Canada, PayPal is the one that handles all 3 currencies. And then we have bank accounts in Canada under the organization's name. We're an official nonprofit in Canada. We are registered 501c3 in the US. We have an address in the US, and if people prefer to send checks, you can send them there. They get deposited into our account. So we'll find a way to receive any donation.
That's so great. Yeah.
And adoptions.
Right. And you also have your Facebook page?
Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah. And is it Mazatlán Animal Rescue on Facebook? Yeah. And I will obviously for sure send in our show notes all of the ways that you can get in touch with Carol You don't have to be in Mazatlán, Mexico to be able to support. Clearly, as you could tell, she's able to, take any type of support, contribution, anything that you can to help this cause. And I know that this is not just the only place. All over the world, we've got rescue agencies and places that we are doing our best to control the pet population. But this is a near and dear to my heart. I've been able to meet so many of the team here. And again, I've met people who are in Canada that have actually adopted animals up in Vancouver, Seattle, the US. It's just been quite amazing. So I just want to say a big, go ahead.
Every cent we use, every peso, every dime, every quarter goes to the animals. And we have no other source of support.
Okay.
No government support
right
here, nothing in the United States, nothing. Everything comes from donations.
Wonderful. I love it. And we're here for you. So I just want to say a big thank you for you finally coming over.
Yeah.
It's been a long time chatting about it, but we're so busy. You're very busy, rescuing animals all day long. And so I just want to say a big thank you. I'm here to support any way I can. And again, if this conversation has, brought something into your heart, please reach out to me, reach out to Carol, take a look at the links that I have in the show notes. And share this, not just for you, but if you know someone who maybe they're looking for purpose or passion, or they want to contribute, they just maybe didn't know where to go, then definitely reach out to us, Carol Kirkwood, Mazatlán Animal Rescue. We'll have all the links on the show notes. And until next time, we'll see you soon. Thank you so much, Carol.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you.
Angel says thank you too.